Have you ever lied online just to make someone laugh? Now imagine finding out that the other person's unbelievable claims were actually true. That's exactly how this story begins. Ryan is an ordinary young man living a simple life. Every morning he squeezes into a crowded train, works a regular office job, and dreams of achieving something bigger. His daily routine is boring, but everything changes after he meets a girl online named Emma. What starts as a random conversation soon turns into a daily habit. Every day they message each other, tease one another, and compete to tell the most ridiculous stories. Emma jokingly claims she's the daughter of one of the richest families in the country. Instead of believing her, Ryan decides to play along. He laughs and says his family is even richer, calling himself the future heir to an enormous business empire. Neither of them takes these conversations seriously. They simply enjoy making each other laugh. The next morning, Ryan asks Emma what she had for breakfast. She casually replies that she's still on a helicopter and will eat after landing. Ryan bursts into laughter, convinced she's making everything up. Not wanting to lose the bragging contest, he replies that he only eats premium imported steak every morning and personally chooses the best cattle before breakfast. Emma immediately laughs and comes up with even crazier stories. Their conversations become more ridiculous every day, but strangely, those silly lies bring them closer together. Sometimes their chats become so random that they barely understand each other. Ryan even asks which train line she's on, but Emma misunderstands the question completely, making the conversation even funnier. Instead of getting annoyed, Ryan laughs because talking to her always brightens his day. After months of chatting, she becomes the first person he thinks about every morning and the last person he messages before going to sleep. That night, they finally have a video call. Ryan expects to see an ordinary girl, but the moment the call connects, he's completely speechless. Emma is unbelievably beautiful. She has a calm, elegant face that makes her look cold at first glance. Yet the moment she starts talking, she acts incredibly cute and affectionate. Ryan gets so embarrassed that he jokingly threatens to hang up if she keeps talking like that. Emma immediately apologizes before teasing him again a few seconds later. Their playful chemistry makes it obvious that both of them have already fallen for each other. A few days later, Ryan receives the best news of his life. After countless interviews and endless preparation, he finally gets accepted into his dream company, one of the largest corporations in the country. The moment he receives the offer, he excitedly messages Emma. She congratulates him and asks if they should finally celebrate together. She has asked to meet him many times before, but Ryan always refuses. He believes online relationships are simpler because reality often destroys beautiful expectations. As long as they stay behind their phone screens, everything feels perfect. While joking around once again, Emma suddenly asks, "If you're really the heir to such a powerful family, then who exactly is your father?" Without thinking twice, Ryan casually blurts out the name of the country's most famous billionaire, Richard Sterling. To him, it's just another harmless joke. He expects Emma to laugh, but instead, she suddenly goes silent. Several long moments pass before she finally replies, "If your father is Richard Sterling, then who is my father?" Ryan can't stop laughing. He assumes Emma is simply trying to continue the joke and jokingly tells her to stop making up impossible stories. Completely unaware of the truth, he ends the conversation with a smile, believing they've just had another hilarious chat. What Ryan doesn't know is that for the very first time since they met online, Emma wasn't joking at all. Everything he believed was fake is about to turn into reality, and his peaceful life is about to change forever. After that strange conversation, Ryan didn't think much about it. He simply assumed Emma was continuing their usual game of making up impossible stories. Since she didn't reply for a long time, he figured she had become busy and returned to preparing for his new job. Meanwhile, Emma wasn't laughing anymore. The moment Ryan mentioned Richard Sterling's name, she couldn't get it out of her mind. Instead of ignoring it, she decided to ask her father directly. Walking into his office, she looked at him with a serious expression and asked, "Dad, do you have a son outside our family?" The unexpected question nearly made Richard choke on his drink. After calming down, he looked at Emma in complete confusion and asked where she had heard such a ridiculous thing. Emma explained that her online boyfriend had introduced himself as Richard Sterling's son. Richard immediately denied everything and firmly told her that she was his only child. He had never hidden another family and never had another son. Hearing those words, Emma finally let out a long sigh of relief. For a brief moment, she had actually feared that the person she had fallen in love with could secretly be her own brother. Thankfully, that wasn't the case. A few days later, Ryan officially reported for his first day at Sterling Corporation. Walking through the company's entrance felt like a dream because this was the place he had always wanted to work. After finishing the joining formalities and settling into his new desk, he couldn't wait to tell Emma the good news. He sent her a message saying that everything was going well and that he had finally become part of his dream company. Emma congratulated him with genuine happiness before asking the same question she had asked many times over the past 6 months. "We've been together for so long. When are we finally going to meet?" Ryan smiled at the message but still refused. He told her he had just started working and wanted to focus on adapting to the new environment first. Emma respected his decision, but the disappointment was impossible to hide. Even though they lived in the same city and had been dating online for months, Ryan still wasn't ready to meet her in person. After their conversation ended, Emma sat quietly inside her office, wondering if she had done something wrong. No matter how many times she asked, Ryan always found a reason to postpone their first meeting. While she was lost in thought, one of her assistants accidentally dropped a stack of employee files. As Emma bent down to help, one file caught her attention. The photo on the document looked unbelievably familiar. She picked it up and looked more carefully. It was Ryan's employee profile. Her eyes widened in surprise as she realized that the man she had been talking to every single day had actually joined her own company. A smile slowly appeared on her face. Without telling anyone, she decided she would see him herself. The next morning, the entire department suddenly became unusually quiet. Employees who had been chatting only moments earlier immediately returned to work as soon as they heard that the company's president was coming for an inspection. Ryan quickly put away his phone after his coworker warned him that nobody dared relax whenever the president visited. Curious to see the famous executive everyone respected so much, Ryan casually looked toward the entrance. The moment he saw the woman walking into the office, every thought inside his head disappeared. It was Emma, the girl he believed had been joking about being rich. The girl he had refused to meet for 6 straight months. The girl who had actually been telling the truth all along. Panic instantly took over. Without thinking, Ryan slid under his desk, hoping she would walk past without ever noticing him. There was no hiding after that. I realized crawling further under the desk wasn't going to save me, so I picked up my phone from the floor and slowly climbed back into my chair, laughing in that weak, pathetic way people laugh when they've been caught doing something ridiculous. Ha! Sorry. Dropped my phone. It rolled pretty far under there. I didn't dare look directly at Emma. I was terrified that if our eyes met for even a second too long, she'd say something that would finish off whatever dignity I had left. But she didn't say anything to me directly. She simply told everyone to continue their work and walked past my desk like I was just another new hire she'd never seen before. Still, I could have sworn her eyes lingered on me a moment longer than they needed to before she turned away. The second she was out of earshot, the whole office exhaled like one giant organism finally allowed to breathe again. I exhaled right along with them, my heart still hammering against my ribs. Marcus was on me instantly, practically vibrating with curiosity, his eyes wide and gleeful. Dude, why did President Sterling look at you like that? Like she actually knew you? I lowered my voice. There was no point hiding it from him anymore, not after that disaster. Remember the girl I've been talking to online? The one who's always saying ridiculous things? Her name is Emma Sterling. His jaw dropped so fast I thought it might actually hit the desk. The one you told your dad was Richard Sterling? As a joke? That Emma Sterling? I thought she was playing along with the bit, I said, rubbing my temples. I genuinely thought it was a coincidence. I didn't think it was actually true. He clapped both hands over his mouth, shaking with silent laughter, tears practically forming in his eyes. Meanwhile, I just sank lower into my chair, mentally composing the resignation letter I might need to write before lunch. Then my phone buzzed against the desk. "Emma, you're much more handsome in person than on video, Mr. Under the Desk." I groaned out loud enough that Marcus lost it completely and had to turn away from me entirely to keep from laughing in front of the whole department. I told myself I could avoid her for the rest of the week if I just kept my head down and did my job. That plan lasted exactly a few hours. By evening, my phone was buzzing non-stop with her messages, each one more pleading than the last, until I finally gave in and agreed to have dinner with her. She'd already booked us a table at some upscale French restaurant downtown, and even sent over a screenshot of the reservation, clearly proud of herself. I looked at the screenshot, then looked back at my own reflection in the car window and shook my head. "No," I said, buckling my seatbelt as she climbed into the passenger seat looking confused. "We're getting skewers on the street tonight." So the princess of the Golden Circle, dressed in heels that probably cost more than my monthly rent, got pulled down onto a wobbly plastic stool on the sidewalk beside me, surrounded by the smell of grilling meat and the noise of passing scooters. "If you actually want to date someone like me for real," I told her, handing her a skewer of questionable beef that was almost certainly duck, "you need to have the spirit of poverty, not just the money to pretend you understand it." She nodded at me with total seriousness, like I'd just handed her a business proposal instead of a stick of meat, and ate it without a single complaint. When I told her that tomorrow's breakfast would be soy milk and fried dough sticks from the stall near my apartment, instead of whatever imported, nutrient-optimized breakfast she was used to, she agreed to that too, her eyes practically sparkling with amusement at the whole situation. Watching her adjust so easily to something so far from her usual world, I couldn't help but ask the question that had been nagging at me since the moment I first saw her face on that video call. "Princess of the Golden Circle, I really don't understand it. What exactly do you see in someone like me?" She opened her mouth to answer, tilting her head slightly like she was considering how honest to actually be with me. That's when a bright red sports car screeched to a stop directly behind us, tires practically kissing the curb. The door swung open with a dramatic flourish, and a strikingly beautiful woman stepped out. The kind of presence that made every head on that street turn to look, myself included. A bad feeling crept up my spine before she even said a word. I turned back toward Emma, hoping to catch some reaction, some clue as to who this woman was. Her expression had already gone cold, the warmth from a moment ago completely gone, replaced by something sharp and guarded that I hadn't seen on her face before. The woman stepped closer, heels clicking against the pavement with the confidence of someone who'd never once questioned whether a room belonged to her. She looked from Emma to me and back again, a slow, deliberate smile spreading across her face, the kind of smile that wasn't friendly at all. "Emma," she said, drawing the name out like she was tasting it. "I didn't expect to find you here. Of all places." Emma didn't stand. She just set her skewer down carefully on the little paper tray in front of her, like she needed both hands free. "Vivian. What a coincidence. Is it?" Vivian's eyes drifted to me, sweeping over my wrinkled work shirt, the plastic stool, the grease-stained napkin still in my hand. Something flickered across her face. Amusement, maybe pity. "And who's this?" Before I could answer, Emma spoke first, her voice flat and even. "This is Ryan, my boyfriend." Vivian let out a soft laugh, the kind that wasn't really a laugh at all. "Your boyfriend, eating skewers on the sidewalk." She tilted her head at me. "Sweetheart, does he know who you actually are?" I felt my stomach twist. I opened my mouth, not entirely sure what was about to come out of it, but Emma beat me to it again. "He knows exactly who I am," she said, and there was an edge to her voice now, something I hadn't heard from her before, not the playful, dramatic tone from our video calls, and not the composed, professional one from the office either. This was something else, something protective, which is more than I can say for whatever you think you know about me. Vivian's smile didn't waver, but something behind her eyes went sharp. "Careful, Emma. You know how people talk." She turned her gaze back to me one more time, looking me over like I was a stray cat that had wandered somewhere it didn't belong. "It was nice meeting you, Ryan. I'm sure we'll see each other again." She turned on her heel and walked back to the sports car without waiting for a response, the door shutting behind her with a heavy, expensive-sounding thud. The engine roared, and then she was gone, leaving nothing behind but the smell of exhaust and an uncomfortable silence between us. I stared at Emma. "Okay, who was that?" Emma picked her skewer back up like nothing had happened, though her hand wasn't quite as steady as before. "Nobody important." "Emma." She sighed, finally looking at me, and for the first time since I'd known her online or in person, she looked tired. "That," she said quietly, "is a very long story." "That's not an answer," I said, leaning back against the plastic stool which creaked in protest. "You basically just told a stranger I was your boyfriend, and then she looked at me like I was something she'd scraped off her shoe. I think I've earned at least a little context." Emma picked at the edge of her napkin, avoiding my eyes for a moment. "Vivian and I grew up together. Our families have known each other for years, the kind of relationship where everyone assumes things will just happen eventually. She's always believed, that includes me." "Believed what exactly?" "That we'd end up together, in some arranged, practical sort of way. Our fathers used to joke about it at dinners when we were kids." Vivian never treated it like a joke. Emma finally looked up at me. "She's been waiting for me to fail at something. Anything that proves I don't actually know what I want. A boyfriend she's never heard of, who happens to work in my company, who happens to be sitting on a plastic stool eating fake beef, is exactly the kind of thing she'll use." "Use for what?" "To convince my father I'm being reckless. That I don't take the company, or my life, seriously." She said it lightly, but I could hear something tighter underneath it, something she wasn't saying outright. I sat with that for a second, turning it over. "So this isn't really about me at all?" "No," Emma admitted. "It's about her wanting something she was never going to get, and blaming everyone around her instead of accepting it." I glanced toward the street where the sports car had long since disappeared, then back at Emma, who was doing her best impression of someone completely unbothered, failing only slightly at the corners of her eyes. Something about the way she'd said, "Times he knows exactly who I am," times stuck with me. The fierceness of it, unprompted, immediate. "For what it's worth," I said, "I don't care whose family owns what. I care that you ate that mystery duck beef without complaining." That finally cracked her composure. She let out a short laugh, quiet but real, and some of the tension eased out of her shoulders. "You really know how to ruin a dramatic moment." "It's a gift," I said, and reached for the last skewer before she could take it.